Hey you folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to Let's Play some Through the Ages, a new tale of civilization. I have just finished a game, it's in the morning, I'm just having my coffee, relaxing, finished a game of Through the Ages. I'm like, you know what, I could do another. Let's pretend it's work and record it. Through the Ages is a wonderful real-world board game that I own and absolutely adore, and the digital version is really strong as well. Most notably about it is that the AI in it is very competent, which is often something that digital board games struggle with, especially ones that are fairly crunchy and technical, like Through the Ages over here. So it's actually really impressive that they've got a pretty decent AI put in there. Now, I'm sure the top tier players don't think that it's all that, but I'm not a top tier player. I just play with some friends casually and then play against the AI. It's also got a good mobile version. There's a lot of stuff I can't play on my phone because, I don't know, phone screens are small for me because I'm a cranky old man. And yet this one here works really well. The only downside is on my phone, which is pretty old at this point. I've got a Samsung S10. So it's quite a few years old at this point. So sometimes in late game it runs a little bit slow, but otherwise it's great. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. I'm playing against 3 of the hard AI here. I'm going to use just the base game. I've been playing that again just because it's been a while since I played Through the Ages, so I would just want to play with a smaller pool of characters. There's the original, it's the base game. Some of the character cards, some of the wonders have been tweaked for game balance. And there's an expansion, and random mix is definitely like the more interesting of the combo, but I'm going to stick with the base game here just because it has been a while, so I want to limit the pool of cards that are possible in here. So I will try to explain the game in a little bit more tutorial-y fashion to start off with for people who are unfamiliar with it, and then as we go forward, we'll just focus playing a little bit more. I know that visually it doesn't look all that impressive here. The reason is there's a lot of information this game is going to have to show, so it's going to have to limit a little bit of what's going on. The gist of this game, though, is this is basically Civilization, the board game, except it's not branded as the Civilization. It sneaks the word civilization in there, and one of the leaders that is available in the game later on is Sid Meier's. So there's clearly references, but it's not actually, as far as I know, it's not, there's no trademarks or copyrights involved from 2K or Firaxis or anything going on here. It's probably just someone who loves the idea of civilization and went and did it. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name. It was on the main menu over there. Anyway, the goal is to end the game with the most victory points. I say victory points, it's actually culture. So there are 4 resources that you can collect. There's food, minerals, or production, or rocks. There's science, and then there's culture. And culture is actually the victory point system. At the end of the game, whoever's got the most culture wins. You can develop culture through a variety of different ways. I mean, one of the ways would be building things like libraries and theaters and churches and stuff like that. Or you can also go to war and just steal it from other people because it's kind of an abstracted mechanic. Anyway, the 4 players are here. We're going to be playing in this order. I'm going to be playing second. The first round is sort of a weird pseudo round. It doesn't follow all the normal rules. The first player starts with a single civil action. Second gets 2, then 3, then 4. And then after that, they go to normal. These dots over here, normally these would be filled. And these are how many civil actions or civic actions and how many military actions you can do. But yeah, this first round's a little bit different. And there is a pool of cards over here that you draw into your hand by spending the appropriate number of civil actions. You can see this chunk over here just costs 1 of these little white cubes. I mean, I know there's circles in here, but in the physical board game, they're cubes, so I'll likely refer to them that way. Drawing from here would cost 2, drawing here would cost 3. Normally what happens at the end of a person's turn, first of all, the leftmost card over here gets burned, gets discarded. If you're playing a game with 2 or 3 players, then more cards will get auto-discarded, but with 4, it's only the leftmost one gets auto-discarded. And then after that, normally what happens is everything gets shoved over to the left to fill in the gaps, and new cards get drawn in. This first round is different in that it will not repopulate this board here. So red has gone ahead and taken Julius Caesar. That's going to be a leader that they'll be deploying on their next turn. And then I'll just go ahead and advance. You can see at the end of the turn, you do get production over here. You start off with 2 farms, 2 mines, and 1 lab. So you start off with production of 2 food, 2 mines, and 1 science. Now, science and culture is kept track of in the physical version with like a points track. You just move your cube up the points track to track how much you've got. The farms and mines are a little bit different. What you have is you have these blue cubes over here, these supply cubes. And at the end of your turn, when you produce it by picking up these blue cubes and putting them on the farms and mines as they produce. And things happen when this set of tokens starts to run down, there's this corruption element that come into play, and we'll look at that. These yellow, again, in the physical version, they're yellow cubes. I know here they're going to be these sort of glowy circles. These represent your population. This is sort of potential population over here. And then you can spend food to take one of these, turn them into an idle worker, and then the idle workers can then be turned into an actively worked building later on. So that's the sort of gist of the main mechanic. So here's our first turn over here, and let's consider our strategy. So there are, at this stage, there's going to be three types of cards that we can see. These yellow cards are one-shot cards that you play. You draw them into your hand. You can't use them on the turn when you draft them, but in future turns, you can play these, and these will do things. So Rich Land, for example, lets you build or upgrade a mine or a farm and pay one less mineral to do it. A similar card would be Urban Growth, which lets you build or upgrade an urban building. So on your board over here, there will be, so there's farms and mines, and then everything else over here, these gray cards are these urban buildings. Currently, we started with a lab called Philosophy and a temple called Religion. The A symbol over here, this represents the fact that we're in the Ancient Era, which is the starter era. And again, it's sort of a pseudo era. As soon as we're all done our first starter turn here, where we just draft some cards, we're going to enter Age 1 immediately and start gaining access to Age 1 cards. But yeah, there's other classes over here. There's theaters and libraries are other classes of cards. What else is there? There's the I don't know, the Colosseums, the sports arenas. I don't know what the class of that card is called, but basically that kind of vibe. So yeah, so I've got 2 points because I'm going second. I've got 2 civic choices to go here. So I can grab 2 cards that cost 1, or I can grab 1 that costs 2 over here. And so there's the purple cards, which are wonders. Wonders, the way they work, you pick them up, you don't put them in your hand, you deploy them on the table immediately, but they show up in an unbuilt state. So with Library of Alexandria, I'm going to have to spend 3 actions to build it. So, I mean, I would pay whatever actions it takes to claim this wonder. And then in the future, I can then spend actions to build it. It would cost me 1 mineral for the first stage, then 4 for the second, then 1 more mineral for the last stage. If we compare the Colossus over here, it's only going to take 2 actions to build. It's going to cost 3 and 3. As far as I know, maybe other than maybe the expansion stuff, I think all the Age A wonders cost a total of 6 minerals to build, but they're split up in slightly different ways and arrangements depending on what you're going. So if we were to look at, let's just start by considering the 2 cost things. We'd just be picking up 1 card, so there's no combinations. Engineering Genius is actually excellent, whereas Rich Land and Urban Growth save you 1 mineral, Engineering Genius saves you 2 minerals, which is, I mean, it's a small number, but in AJ, that is a significant value. And we're almost certainly going to want to build a wonder ASAP, but just taking the Engineering Genius by itself without drafting a wonder feels a little bit poor. We'll take a look at Moses over here, who's a leader, just like Julius Caesar that Red drafted. The way a leader works is you pick it up into your hand, and then in the future you play it, and we'll see it'll replace our figure over here, and it gives you generally a passive bonus. So with Moses here, when we increase our population by hitting this button, it costs us 1 food less. I think many Through the Age players considered Moses to be one of the weaker Age A characters because it does generally make you grow a little bit earlier, but in the end, you're sort of limited in your growth in the same way, because what happens is as you clear out these yellow tokens, you actually get a negative to your food production, -1 and then -2 when this completely. So if I grow twice, I'll have a -1 food production. And if I grow another 4 times after that, I'll have a -2, and without doing anything else, my growth will be stalled. So we'll get there a little faster with Moses, but whether or not that makes a big difference, So I mean, it's not like it's a bad effect, but is it a high priority? So now we're going to look at the wonders. So Library of Alexandria, I like it a lot. So it generates 1 passive culture immediately, which over the course of a game, and I don't know what the average length of one of these games is. It's maybe something like 20-ish turns. I'm not sure. So it'll generate about that much culture for you, which is certainly something and can help put you in the lead. Although it also makes you vulnerable to a few things like Barbarian and Terrorism cards, which we'll look at later. It does generate 1 passive science, which is actually really good because right now the only lab we have access to is Philosophy. Each worker on Philosophy, currently we have 1, produces 1 science. So what's great about Alexandria is it's the same as one of our labs, but doesn't tie up one of our workers. It also lets us hold more cards in our hand, which is actually pretty good. The other one to talk about over here is Pyramids. And Pyramids, the only thing it does for you is give you another civil action. Right now, that's 25% more actions in the game, which is kind of a huge deal. You don't necessarily have all the resources all the time, so what is the value of that action? It can depend on how things are going. Pyramids was often considered like one of the strongest Age A wonders. Statistical analysis of higher tier gameplay have shown that it's maybe not as strong as perceived, but it is a very strong wonder still, and I wouldn't complain if we went and picked that up. So those are the possibilities for our Age 2s. If we look at Age 1, we can pick 2 cards, right? So we might want to pick the Colossus, which has been buffed here in the version of the game we're playing. I think this represents also what the card looks like in the new printing of the physical board game. So I think the classic version was the same cost, 3 and 3. It gives you 2 extra military strength, which we'll talk about more later, and 1 colonization strength. That's kind of nice, but it was maybe a little on the weaker side. So now they added this text where once you enter Age 2 and then Age 3, you get to draw some extra military cards, just to help give it a little bit more of an oomph. The advantage of taking this, if we did that, we could also take one of these yellow cards. Frugality does something that's very similar to Moses. You do have to increase your population after you pay the food cost gain of food. So it sort of makes it 1 cheaper to grow your pop, except you have to have the full food first, and then you get a refund of 1 back. And I mean, it's fine. And then we've got rich land over here, again, which we looked at. Paid, you can upgrade a mine or a farm, and then you pay 1 less over there. It's not a refund on this one, unlike Frugality, which is a refund. This is an actual discount. And then we got cultural heritage, which I'm sort of ignoring here because I don't think it's a high priority pick. It does give you full 4 culture, which is a good number of culture. But in terms of like sort of snowballing and starting off your game, that's not really what I'm looking for. It does give you 1 science. I don't know how much I care about that. I think Colossus plus Rich Land is a really good pick. I think probably Library of Alexandria or Pyramids is also a good pick. Now, whatever we don't take, we're going to be giving up to other people. So depending on how it goes, Blue, for example, who's got 4 civic actions, Blue might be able to pick, say, like one of these 2 wonders. Let's assume Yellow is going to take either Pyramids or Library of Alexandria, and then probably one of these other, like just the yellow cards here, which means Blue will likely be able to grab whichever wonder wasn't grabbed plus Engineering Genius, which is pretty good. If we don't take the Colossus ourselves, then actually it opens up a play for Yellow to grab Colossus plus Engineering Genius, which is actually kind of nice. And I think I'm going to grab Colossus plus Rich Land, if nothing else, because I think it weakens Yellow's turn. And it's not a bad turn for us. So I'm going to use that as the deal breaker here. So we'll do this. We'll grab Rich Land, and that is my initial turn. We'll go and get our production over here, just like everyone else. Yellow grab the Library of Alexandria and Cultural Heritage. Okay. And yeah, I'm expecting Blue will go Pyramids and Engineering Genius. Pyramids. Oh, and Moses. Interesting. I think the AI does value grabbing a leader early on. And I mean, not having a leader kind of sucks because you don't get any bonuses whatsoever. I think I would have grabbed Engineering Genius there. I think Blue made a mistake. I mean, I might be wrong. The computer beats me a lot. So, you know, maybe don't listen to me. Reds increased their population, built an AJ mine. They grabbed the Hanging Gardens because they hadn't grabbed a wonder previously. But 1 came up for them, which is very good luck, and then has activated Julius Caesar, which is giving them +1 to their military strength, as well as an extra military action. At the end of your turn, you draw military cards equal to the number of unspent military actions up to a limit of 3. So by playing Julius Caesar here, Red's getting to pick 3 military cards as opposed to only picking up 2, which is what we'll do, assuming we don't spend any military. So what Red did on their turn is pretty standard. What you're usually going to do is the standard play is increase your population by 1, build an extra mine, and then, you know, whatever else kind of comes up. We're going to have a chance to grab Aristotle. That's not bad early on, because we don't have a leader, so we're going to be looking for that. One of the things, as a sort of a general rule of thumb, is you're probably going to look to build an extra mine, an extra lab, and an extra farm in some order over here. That's usually the order I'm kind of prioritizing, but usually you want to get this up a little bit more. If I can pick up, so let's take a look at the text that can pick up over here. So this is our Age 1 cards that will show up. These are in the pool and will show up on this row. And if I do the eyeball over here, shouldn't we be seeing, so Carolina Urban Growth, isn't this supposed to show me, am I looking in the wrong category? I'm looking in the wrong category. These are the Age 1 military cards. My bad. There we go. So we can see Urban Growth and University of Carolina. I know. It's the University of Northern Carolina. That's what this is. Those have got these little symbols here because they're currently in the shop. Everything else is available. We'll see these things get grayed out as they get burnt off or they get drafted by other people. But this is the entire pool that is available. And I don't remember now what my point was when I was loading this up. Oh, technology cards. Right. So a bunch of these cards over here, this value in the top left corner is how much technology, how much science you have to spend to be able to put this card into play. So you can grab it from the pool and hold it in your hand, but to actually deploy it, you need that much science here. And so, oh, now I remember what I started with. If we get an opportunity to pick up irrigation or iron, then that can make a big change to how much I prioritize the farms and mines. Although usually I do end up with the 3 mines regardless, but I don't necessarily go to a 3rd farm if I can get irrigation. And what's nice here, Aristotle, is every time I grab a technology card from the top row, I score a science, which means I can actually slow down the labs a little bit. We've also got the ability to take Alexander the Great here, which does give us some extra military strength, and you can trash Alexander to get an extra yellow token in your yellow bank here, which can help facilitate growth. We should mention Hammurabi here, which lets us use our red military red actions as a civic action once per turn. And then Homer, I actually like Homer a lot. He does have the +1 for building and upgrading military units, which is fine. And then he does give you an extra happy face, and it does stick around permanently if you slide it under a wonder. So I'm kind of keen on that, although Aristotle is pretty stonking good. And he only costs 1, so there's a good chance we'll probably do that. I think we'll probably grab this engineering genius as well. So I think we will go and do the standard race population. I will go and deploy a population on the bronze, and I will use rich land to save myself 1 mineral. So we'll do that. So now we have 3 workers there, which means we're getting 3 production, which is great. I will grab Aristotle. I don't have to deploy him right away because I'm not going to grab a science a technology card this turn, so I may as well pick up the engineering genius. And the next turn we'll have 4 minerals plus a discount of 2 from engineering genius, which means I can go ahead and just build the Colossus next turn, which seems pretty good to me. Let's go ahead and end turn. What's yellow going to do? So they've drafted Alexander the Great, and they're going to deploy them, so their strength is a little higher. They've increased their population, they built the mine, again, very standard there. And that's the turn. Hey, in your first few turns this game, you're not going to have a lot, but you're going to get more and more actions as you continue through the game, and your turns will get longer and longer. All right, Blue has activated Moses and is then growing their population for very cheap. There's no denying that. They increased their population a second time and went ahead and built a mine. So again, population, mine, plus some other things. You can mix it up a little bit. If you did draft an urban growth at the start, your first build could be a lab. Okay, then here's the other thing. These military cards we pick up, I guess I can't look at myself right now while this is currently up, which has been annoying. At the end of turn, I mentioned for every unspent military action, to a maximum of 3, you do get to draw that many military cards. At the start of your turn, the first phase is actually the politics phase, and one of the most common actions to do in the politics phase is to play an event from your hand. Now, this is the event deck over here. There's always 6 cards in this total between these 2 piles. This is the active event deck, the current events, and this is the future events over here. When you play an event, it goes in the future event, and you pop the top card off the current events deck, and it triggers something. Whenever this current one is empty, which means there'll be 6 cards in the future one, you shuffle the future event deck, move it over here, and keep going. So that way, anything that's being played now doesn't get added immediately to the pool. So there's a sort of like latency between the events firing. I have no idea what red played, but it did trigger an event, which I've already forgotten about because I was distracted by the discussion about it. We'll talk about it more on my turn. All right, they've gone and upgraded their lab, picked up frugality, picked up patriotism. Okay. So yeah, again, sort of a standard play. Again, I would say if there's nothing weird going on, getting that lab going is pretty typical. Okay. So let's talk about this event. So you can see here, this is the future event deck. This is the current event deck, which I don't know what's in there. And it did pop development of markets, which, can I not zoom it from here? Well, I guess we can see it there. All civilizations on your turn gain 2 food or 2 minerals. Because we're playing in the digital version, we didn't get a pop-up for this prompt until our turn starts. In fact, it'll let us play a political card first before firing that. In the tabletop, obviously you resolve it right away. And you do have the option of playing this game in following the tabletop rules or the digital one. The digital one is generally preferable in multiplayer because that way things flow better. And I like it so much that that's why I play against the AI as well. So these 3 Age A event cards, we don't know what they are. If we take a look at the decks, so this is all the possible Age A event cards. There are 10 of them. However, we only put 6 of them in there. We know development of the markets has been fired off. We have no idea what the rest are. One of the things to keep in mind is 2 of these, development of warfare and development of religion. What they do is if you have an idle worker, you get to build a temple for free or a warrior for free. So while there are Age A events in here, a lot of times it's kind of important to keep an idle worker so that you can take advantage of those cards that come up, because if you don't, it kind of sucks. So I'm going to go ahead and play Strategic Territory in the event deck, which is a colony that we can fight over later. When you play an event, you score culture equal to the level of the event. So this is going to score us 1 culture. We'll trigger the Age A event. Development of trade routes triggered, and then we've got this over here. Let's try to decide. Do I want the food or do I want the minerals? With the minerals, I'm probably still just going to make the wonder, and I have enough for that now. With the food, it would give me enough to grow my population twice if I did that. I mean, how important is it to grow the population twice right now? I don't know. What I can do, what's interesting is, because making this decision, and the reason in the digital version it does this second, is because when we played an event card, it popped a card off here. I can no longer undo because it would be unfair because I know what that event is. But here, what it can do is I can basically work through my whole turn. Let's say I went and grabbed the minerals. I can still undo and change my mind. Game's great for that. Let's say I went and did that. And let's say, all right, I'm going to build stage A of the Colossus with this. I'm going to do this, which leaves us with 3 more minerals. What does that do for us? Well, means I have enough to build a lab. Now, if I grab the food, I'd have enough to grow my population 1 more time, but I wouldn't be able to do anything with it right away. Now, you can see that this token has turned orange, and we've got an unhappy face. For every box that you uncover here, you get some more. You need to generate happy faces to counteract the growing unrest in your population. The easiest way to do that early on, you can see religion. If we put a unit on here, it will generate a happy face. Again, if we had Homer, he would generate a happy face. Bread and circuses, which are, I think it's arena tech is what these are referred to as. These generate more happy faces, plus some military strength, which is spiffy do. Theaters also generate happy faces. And then there's a couple other things here and there. But there we are. So I still haven't deployed Aristotle, which is fine because I wasn't picking up tech. Now, we might want to reverse this turn and consider different ways it could have played out. Because what we could have done is grabbed irrigation. I could have played Aristotle, grabbed irrigation, deploy it, and then upgrade a farm, our agriculture here to irrigation, and generate more food. That's another play we could have done. The other thing I could have done is just finish the wonder and then picked up Universitas Carolina here, which generates 1 culture and 2 science per turn, which is pretty good. You can't, you can only have 1 wonder under construction, so I couldn't draw this until I finished this wonder. Also notice that this costs 2 civil actions to pick up. Wonders cost the normal cost, plus 1 for every wonder you already have. So spamming more and more wonders gets more expensive. Like here, normally St. Peter's Basilica would take 3 to grab this, but you can see it's 4, again, because of the extra wonder. It might be worth having a conversation about these options. Again, I can't play, well, if I don't build the wonder, then I can play Aristotle, pick up irrigation at a good discount. I mean, I could just pick it up now without getting the +1 production, but that's fine. I could pick up urban growth and rich land as well. You know, having irrigation would be very good. Because I've just got 2 workers in the farms, and I really won't need any more than that. I could try to think about what other play other people would have. Well, no one else is grabbing this university, so I don't have to worry about that letting slip by. Oh, these are all really good options, and it's kind of being hard to pick. Now, one of the things with grabbing this is it would tie up my next 9 minerals, which right now is 3 turns of mineral production. I think that represents something a little too expensive right now. Yeah. I think I kind of just generate a little more tech. I'll have 5 next turn, 5 science next turn, which might mean I could pick up the knights over here when it's fairly cheap, which is a pretty good pickup. I think I'm just going to end my turn here and see what happens. I'm kind of hoping that we get the free temple, because that would solve some of our unhappiness issues. But we'll see. Border conflict, new deposits. All right, what's yellow doing? They're playing an event. Triggering developing of warfare, which will get us the ability to build a warrior for free. I'm kind of hoping both free unit cards don't come through, because I won't be able to do both. If they both come through, I'm going to prioritize, I think, the temple rather than the warrior, especially since I do have +2 military strength thanks to the Colossus. Blue didn't play an event. Okay. They might not have one. They might have defensive cards and attacking cards as opposed to events. But that second lab is a very popular play. Red, of course, has already got it. Development of settlements. Gain a population. Okay. It's going to work out fine. So I probably will take the free warrior. Red took those knights. There's still another knight in here, but it's going to cost 2 actions to pick up. Red deployed a tactic fighting bands. Okay. All right. So new deposits, an event we could load in that makes it, when it pops up, civilization produces their minerals, so it's kind of just even with everyone. If you have more mines, then you benefit from it more. But right now, I think everyone's generating 3 minerals. Might not be the case when it comes up, but fine. Border conflict gives a benefit to the strongest civ and hurts the weakest. I don't think we're in a really good position to make ourselves the strongest, despite the fact we've got the boost from the Colossus. I just don't see that happening in the short term. So I think I'm going to load up new deposits. Okay, that's fine. We'll take the free warrior. We'll increase our population for free. And, I mean, that might still be the free temple over there. We are very lucky that irrigation's still there, so we're going to play Aristotle, pick up irrigation. We could consider also picking up knights, which would be our whole turn, but that would generate us 2 extra tech from picking up 2 techs with Aristotle. Iron would also be nice, but I don't really see a play. I think I might just raise my population. So this is letting us do something for 1 cheaper. I think I'll do this again, because I have a perfect amount. The population is available. So yeah, one of my idlers is here to counter this unhappy face. They're, I don't know, doing police work or something. So Aristotle, irrigation, which I'm not going to develop instantly, because I'm going to use my other 2 civic turns to draw knights, which will leave me to a total of 7 science, plus 2 over here. It costs 8 to develop both of these. So technically I could do both next turn, although I might not have the money to or the minerals to do good things with it. But it also does give us some flexibility. At this point, one of the things we got to note is, as you can see from border conflict here, the military strength that you have starts to matter for these events. There's events that punish the weak and benefit the strong. And so generally speaking, you don't want to end your turn as the weakest. And ideally, because you can also be attacked with cards like this. So this is something played during the politics phase. It costs you, this one here would cost you 1 military action to play. You target an opponent, and if you have more strength than they do, then you get the benefit from this. Now, people can defend themselves. What you can do when you get attacked, you can burn these military cards to boost your defense by 1 for this attack. So currently, if we were attacked by red, we'd have a deficit of 2, but I could discard these 2 cards and have that, and it'd be effectively a 6 for the attack. So, and we'd be fine. Defenders wins ties. There's also military cards that look like this. These, when you burn them in defense, this would be worth 2 instead of just 1. They can also be used as part of the colonization phase later on. One of the things to keep in mind, though, is you can only defend with a number of cards equal to the number of military actions that you have available to yourself. So we'd be able to use no more than 2. So currently we're safe. We can't be beaten by anyone who directly attacks us. We're not at the bottom. There is a tiebreaker for the bottom, which is the person whose current turn it is wins all ties, and then the next person second most, third most, and the person who just played is the person who's always going to lose all ties. So you keep that in mind. But here's okay. So on yellow's turn, I would lose ties to yellow, but then when it gets to blue, I would be winning ties versus yellow. So anyway, I'm feeling military, from a military sense, I'm feeling safe right now. I've got a good plan for next turn. It is a little bit hurtful that we're not, starting another wonder, but I think we've got more important things for us to focus on with our production. So we're going to end turn, get our production benefits, and draw 2 more cards because we had 2 unspent military actions. The number of military cards you can hold is based on your maximum number of military actions, but you discard first and then draw. So I was at 2, which was my maximum, and then I drew 2 more. So I'm at 4 right now, which is above my max, but it's okay. Yellow plate cultural heritage, just give an extra science, which is actually going to be enough for them to develop theocracy. So they're developing a new government. Currently, we're all tribal government, which has the 4 civic and 2 military and no other bonuses. Theocracy is going to have 4 civic, 3 military. It also generates 1 culture per turn, gives you 1 extra military stat, and counts as a happy face. The other thing the higher tier governments do is your urban buildings, so not your farms and mines, but your urban buildings start off with a limit of just 2 of each type. So you can only have 2 labs and 2 temples and 2 whatever. The higher tier governments, so theocracy here has a limit of 3. Which doesn't matter right now, but does definitely matter in the game. Okay, so they've upgraded their government. Then they've built some warriors, so their strength's gone up to 7. But again, they're running Alexander here, who gets extra military strength from their infantry. All right, Blue, what you up to? You picked up alchemy, which is an upgraded version of lab where the workers generate 2 science instead of just 1. Developed it, upgraded at least 1 person to it. Had to discard 1 military card and then drew some extras. They're very weak and vulnerable. If anyone has any attack cards, they might go for blue. We'll talk about tactics later. Okay, this last age A, development of the religion, the free temple. Do we still have an idle dude? We do, of course we do. It's gonna be great. Okay, picked up Code of Laws. Code of Laws does give you an extra civil action, so it's not a bad thing to develop. It just costs science. It's not a building. It's just sort of a. These blue cards, I don't know what you refer to these blue technologies as. Sort of passive tech. Okay, so we are going to get this event that lets us develop religion. We do have a worker that we can make into a temple, which is going to be fine. I am not at the bottom of the pile. I'm certainly in the bottom 2. What I can't remember is in age 1 military, how many of these might punish the bottom 2? So raiders, each of the 2 weakest civilizations lose 2 food or 2 minerals. Also rats triggering, actually rats triggering would be fine. Raiders would be annoying. So any one of these 4 cards could be raiders. It's not the end of the world, but it wouldn't be ideal. So I can choose not to generate, so I could play border conflict, but I could choose not to. I can't really attack blue. We have a strength of 2 advantage, but they have 4 military cards and they can play 2 in defense. So no matter what, I won't be able to win a battle against blue. I could cause them to burn some cards, but who cares? I could propose a trade route agreement. And when we choose this, we get to choose if we're A or B. So A gets to use food for minerals and B gets to use minerals for food. I mean, only 1 time per round, but it is interesting. I don't think anyone would be willing to take the I can spend food for minerals. Maybe yellow. We might want the we can spend minerals for food just to keep growing. I'm actually thinking I might not bother offering the card. I'm not sure how much it's going to benefit us in the short term here. There's a limit to how much growth we can handle. We're going to get irrigation to help us with this, and our mineral count's okay. So I think I might just skip politics. We will build an AJ temple for free, so that gave us a happy face, which canceled that out. So we no longer have to keep a unit here as sort of a police. We're also out of the AJ card, so there's no more need to keep idle workers around, generally speaking. Although, if someone plays Pestilence, Pestilence kills 1 population. So if you have an idle worker, you can just sacrifice that one as opposed to losing 1 of your buildings. So we might still want to keep a little bit of a buffer here while we know that Pestilence could be an option that comes up. And with all my tech here, we're not at the bottom. I could actually, so there's a few different possibilities. So these tactics we haven't talked about yet. What happens here is these are forms for armies. So this is fighting band. For every pair of infantry we have, we form a fighting band army, which gives +1 strength. So right now I'm at strength 4. Keep in mind, 2 this is from the Colossus. So we're getting 1 strength from each of these warriors, right? If I went and ticked fighting band, copy the tactic, you can see my total strength went up by 1 because I have 1 whole army of fighting band. If I had 4 warriors, right, they would each be generating 1 extra military strength because of that, but it would also form 1 extra fighting band and therefore be worth 1 extra strength. If we take a look at age 1, we can see there's a few other tactics that can come here. So the fighting band is the pair. There's also, what's this one called? Legion, which is a trio, which is worth 2. And then we get these, which get stronger and stronger if you do have cavalry units. You get some really good efficiency. The best age A or age 1 tactic cards tend to use cavalry of some type. We don't have any of those in our hand, but we could hope that we get it with the Knigets. Now, It does to copy a tactic that someone else played. It costs 2. If we had a tactic in our hand, they all cost 1 to deploy. We don't have one right now, which is a little bit annoying. So if I went and developed knights and then turned this unit of population into a knight, I wouldn't have enough military actions to copy this tactic, but I would have the knight, which is worth 2 strength per, as opposed to the warrior's 1. So, I mean, that's one idea. I would like to crawl myself out of this hole a little bit, especially since I'm a bit vulnerable to like red or yellow deciding to attack me. And so copying the tactic would give me 1 more, which would help. I do have one of these cards that's worth 2 defense, and that plus 1 more would defend us against red, so that's not too bad. So I'd be fine with just the knight. Or I would, yeah, I'm fine. If I do the knight or copy the tactic, I'll be in a fine position defensively. So it's a question of what might be better going forward. I'd say having the knight and then hoping to draw a horse-based tactic cards is certainly the most enticing thing. On the other hand, if we're feeling generally okay, what I could do is develop irrigation first. And then I could spend my resources upgrading my irrigation so we get more food so we can keep growing. Another option is I could pick up iron here, which I think I very much want the iron at this point. So the iron is an upgraded mine. So just like with the farm, we're going from 1 food per person to 2 food per person. We go from 1 mineral per person to 2 minerals per person with the iron. There are these technologies at age 1, 2, and 3. Generally, you don't want to upgrade on everyone. You either are going to want to just upgrade at 2, or you do it at 1 and then maybe again at 3 if you can. I picked up the iron. I mean, I could develop both. Although I'm going to run out of actions. I've got enough science for both. What do I want more? The extra pops or the extra production early on? I mean, I won't be able to do all the upgrades unless I have the more production. So maybe what we do is we develop the iron first. Spend 3. And 3 again, maybe, to do that. Which means I won't be able to develop knights, even if I had the actions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and copy this tactic to bring us up to 5. It does use up all these points, so I'm not going to be drawing any new stuff, which is kind of annoying because I'm hoping to draw a horse-based tactic, which unfortunately is not going to happen. But this puts us at a good production. I'll be able to, upgrade this last mine at some point as well. It means that next turn, and I'm going to have enough science for it, I could deploy irrigation, and I'll have enough minerals to go and upgrade. So you pay the difference, by the way. So the level 1 agriculture costs 2 to build, and the irrigation costs 4, which is a little cheaper than the mines, which cost 5. So I only need 4 minerals to upgrade both my farms to the irrigation level, and which will mean I'll have enough and then 1 to spare. Alternatively, if we find ourselves in a threatened position, next turn I can flip around, develop the knights, and do something else. So I think I'm okay with this. Could have also been nice to grab the Taj Mahal. Could have been nice to grab the Code of Laws for the extra action. There's a lot of age 1 left. So I generally don't like grabbing an age 1 government. But we may have to play that by ear. So I'm going to keep my defensive card. We're not going to be in a position to do any plundering, so I'm going to trash that, and I'm going to trash the trade route agreements. We'll keep border conflict, so assuming we're not in a terrible position militaristically, we can just play it next turn. I've got the extra population as well, if someone had played Pestilence, and it might trigger. Although Yellow's not playing an event. Interesting. They get their second lab. They copied the Fighting Band tactic. They drafted Code of Laws and the Patriotism card. Discard 1 of their tactics, and then do that. Okay. Yellow, I was going to say, Yellow probably really doesn't want to play an event. Okay, they're grabbing Joan of Arc, which is going to help their military situation a bit. Joan of Arc gives you extra military based on how many happy faces you're getting from your temples. It also lets you look at the top card of the event deck, so it's quite nice for making some decisions. Okay, well, I'm tied at the bottom, but now the blue turn is over, I would win this tiebreak. Okay, we got our first colony, so what we can do here is... what we do is bid. There's an auction system for the colony. What we do is we bid how many military points we're willing to spend to colonize over here. To colonize, what you have to do is you have to go and send at least 1 military unit, but then you can get bonuses from other things. So my 1 military unit here is actually, I'm currently sitting at 2 because I get +1 from the Colossus. So I've got 1 colonization from the strength of this military unit, 1 from the Colossus. I can play this card as well, so it's bringing me up to 3. I'm not spending it right now. This is just helping me calculate my bid. And if I spent another unit, it would be +1 military strength from the unit, but it would also count as one of our armies, which brings us to a total of 5, which is the most I can bid. Now, the strategic territory will give us 2 military strength permanently forever, which ain't the worst thing in the universe. It also lets us draw 3 military cards. I'm actually kind of willing to do a fairly aggressive build here, because we're next to play, so we're not worried about being attacked. We will definitely need to respond here by rebuilding our army, which is going to be tricky, because we'd be sending away our warriors, so they would be away. It would return the yellow cubes over here, although on my turn, I actually wouldn't have enough food to go and build another unit. So I would just have the one and try to build 1 military unit. And I'd feel kind of uncomfortable there. I do want this. I think I'm going to have to reserve 1 unit back. So I'm only going to bid 3, which probably means I don't get it. Well, maybe. Oh, there we go. I got it with a 2. Again, would be great if I could just spend a card. But again, you have to send at least 1 unit. So I can send 1, and then I've got the free colonization point. So yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, kind of hoping I drew a cavalry-based tactic. Your military strength is high. I didn't draw 1. That's really frustrating. We are... Okay, we'd win a tiebreak. We've got an idle worker. I'm going to go ahead and spend 1. I don't know if I'm going to be the strongest, so I don't know if I want to load border conflict. So I may as well load cultural influence. When it comes up, each civilization scores culture based on the amount they produce, which right now is kind of even. I would get 1 from playing this. Actually, isn't even worthwhile. Nothing that comes out of this is going to screw me. Well, raiders, because, right, I'm one of the bottom 2. That would be kind of annoying. Maybe I just don't play anything here, which I'm not loving this situation we're finding ourselves in. Now, Swordman is a great upgrade. It's better than our warriors. We could grab that. Okay, here's a possibility to play. Grab Swordman, develop it, use my idle worker over here to make a Swordman. Brings up strength 8 because it also completes the fighting band and puts us in a great position defensively. Depending on when an event triggers, we might be 2nd or 3rd in strength. I mean, if something triggers on yellow, we'll be 3rd because yellow will win the tiebreak. But which could mean we'd still get hit by raiders, but it'd have to happen exactly on yellow's turn. So that's a possibility to play, and it's certainly nice for safety. What else do we have? Well, I wouldn't mind warfare. So this is one of these blue technologies, just sits passively. Gives you +1 strength and also gives you 1 extra military action, which right now would be huge. We could consider picking up the Taj Mahal, which is great for culture. And picking up the Taj Mahal is free if you replace your leader this turn, which we could do. What we could do is we could do something like grab Freddy, which cost me 3, replace Aristotle, pick up the Taj Mahal without spending another action, and then I still have 1 action left over. My 1 civil action, I still have a military action available. In which case, I mean, almost certainly building an extra warrior. Oh, right, so Freddy's ability is it lets you spend a military action to grow your population for 1 cheaper and build the military unit for cheaper. Like, he's actually amazing for building up a military. Right? Because it's basically 2 actions for the price of 1. Because normally, to grow your pop is a civic, and then to build the military unit is a military action. Here, all we're using a military action, and everything is cheaper at the same time. So that's actually not a bad situation. We've got 2 defensive cards over here. We'd have to discard everything except those 2, but we know we wouldn't be at a threat. We would be in the bottom 2 no matter what. There wouldn't be a tiebreak situation, unfortunately. Now, if I was going to grab another tech, you might be like, oh, wouldn't it have been nice to pick up the tech before you swap Aristotle? The problem is, it costs you an action to replace your leader, but then you get your action refunded. But you do have to have the action sitting around. So if I would have spent my last action grabbing the tech, and then I wouldn't be able to install Barbarossa. Yeah. Because, yeah, so like, let's say I picked up Warfare, and then picked up Freddy. I no longer have an action to replace him. I think I like, that's very expensive, but it will put us in a great position to rebuild ourselves defensively. I think we do this. I could go and build yet another warrior, which would put us at 8. Again, we'd lose the tiebreak on yellow's turn, but other than that, we're in a slightly better position. He gives us the option on a future turn to just deploy a Legion here for the stacks of 3. Although I still was hoping to do some knight play here. The thing is, I feel like there's no great move. Part of me does wonder about warfare. If I could have one more science, the next turn I could deploy warfare and the knights. But I suppose next turn I could still warfare, deploy irrigation, and use some production to do that. And then I still do this with my military action. I don't like that we've got 3 tech cards in here, but we are going to have 9 tech next turn, which is not too shabby. So yeah, I'm going to have to discard currently everything. I want to keep the defensive cards. I mean, I need, ideally, one good efficient one to defend, potentially against red, although blue's more vulnerable, but the AI will sometimes pick and choose different things. I guess they wouldn't attack me. Okay, there's our new deposits. That's the one we played. We're going to have a lot of minerals next turn. Yellow took knights, develop that. I wonder, do they have a knight-based tactic? They might have one in their hand. Or they might have just done it just for whatevers. Okay, blue takes swordsman, which is very good. Upgrading their troops. Ooh, there we go. See, all of a sudden we're at the bottom of the pile. But we're in a great position to go and embiggen ourselves next turn. And actually, okay, so there's a horse-based tactic in play. Okay, got their code of laws, hanging gardens. And the medieval army, which is 1 infantry, 1 that. Now, it is going to cost us 2 to copy. Any of those? Oh, and you can't copy them to turn their played. So this one is currently out of bounds here. Yeah, well, I'm going to skip politics because they don't have a card for that. I will develop warfare. +1 strength, and it gives us the extra action, which is going to be nice to have. I won't have the population to build the knights, even if I did have the science. I mean, we're going to be in the bottom, and again, we're still kind of worried about raiders showing up over here. And we will lose tie breaks against blue for 2 turns, which isn't ideal. But I think it is what it is. Oh, I could grab... Okay, I could grab Swordman, develop it, and upgrade warriors. If I had 1 more food, I'd be able to use Barbie here to go and boost our stuff. I think I kind of feel like I might need to take a risk here and get our irrigation going. So that we're going to have enough food production. I guess only 1 would still give me enough food next turn to build a pop, although 2 would let me use Barbarossa's ability twice. Okay, what else might I want to use in my last civic? Keep in mind, so over here, because I don't have any blue cubes in this bit, we have corruption, which consumes 2 production. So I kind of want to find a way to spend that. Yeah, which I guess just building the extra farm is kind of the way to go. I could disband maybe this bronze, which would get my worker back idle, which would give us someone that we could develop into a unit. Just so that we come up ahead of blue. We could also pick up reserves, or even rich land for cheaper upgrades later. It's an awful lot of risk. I'm not worried about being attacked because I get defensive cards. I'm a little bit worried about the tie breaks. Okay, we're going to risk it. I'm going to go and upgrade to irrigation here and hope that we don't get a bad event that punishes us for currently being last in power. Situation you really don't want to be in the end of your turn. And you might be last in power by the time it comes back around to you. Okay, well, yellow lost Alexander. So they're currently a little weaker, but they've rebuilt themselves. 3-way tie that is going to be fine, because on blue's turn, we beat yellow. We lose to blue, but we beat yellow. Okay, they didn't play an event. Even though they would have been in the top 2. Develop warfare. Finish their pyramid, so they're getting some extra actions. Okay. Sorry, I was clicking on some random things. Oh, raiders did trigger. And yeah, we in yellow at the bottom too. So we're gonna have to choose something to sacrifice. Not the end of the world. We did have some spare resources. So good harvest is very much like the mine one. So everyone just produce some food and also do immigration. which is based on who's got the most happy faces. We only have one, and that's unlikely to change, so I don't want to do that. Good Harvest is probably fine. I'm not at the bottom, and Raiders is gone, so there's no bottom 2 people, so I can go and trigger Good Harvest. Or not trigger. Oh, okay. Person with the most culture, if they're in the bottom 2, to trigger Barbarians. I wasn't thinking about that. We're fine. So for Raiders here, because we've already played our event, we can do some rewinds here. We've got a lot of minerals. I'm assuming we can probably afford to lose those, and we might want the food. We could do 1 civic growth, or we can do Barbarossa twice. We don't have enough science to develop the knights right now, which is unfortunate. There's monarchy there, although we're almost in age 2, and I might just wait for an age 2 government at this point. Since our science production isn't too high, I kind of feel like picking up Breakthrough is going to be a good idea. You do have to pay the full price for the tech, but then after that, you get a 2 gets returned. We know what Engineering Genius does, and it's quite nice. We could also pick up Alchemy. Can't develop it this turn, unless we just wait for the age 2 lab. We'd be definitely suffering some tech here. Yeah, it'd be nice if I could develop it this turn, but we're short 1. Because we do it and we'd upgrade our labs and it would be glorious. There's a double cost on the government things. It's 8 to develop peacefully and 2 to develop through a revolution. For this, it also eats all your civic actions. I mean, there's some decent stuff here, but it's pretty expensive. Theology would give us more happy faces. We could use that and then in preparation for an immigration play. Drama also gives us happy faces and the culture. I think we might want to pick up Alchemy. Consider deploying it next turn. Instead of our knights. And then yeah, I'll probably pick up Breakthrough. We might just sit on Engineering Genius. We do have a hand limit of 4. But we're going to play Alchemy Breakthrough next turn, or Knights Breakthrough next turn, so that'll clear some space. So I'll do that. I'm going to develop at least 1, because that'll make a second fighting band. Brings us up to 11. So we're second highest in strength. I could go and get 1 more warrior with Barbie here, which would put us tied in first. We do have some corruption right now, so we may as well go ahead and do that. That gets us out of corruption range. Oh, but makes our people cranky. Let's see, what else we got? I mean, instead of picking up Alchemy, I think we still go Breakthrough, but we could do this. We could go and upgrade our iron, and then still do the Barbie things. Oh, yeah. See, we could stop here and not have corruption. I guess I can still pick up the Alchemy. Wait, what did I do differently here? What did I do last time with a civic action? Oh, I picked up Engineering Genius. So instead of Engineering Genius, we upgrade the mines. Yeah, all right, I'm fine with that. Yeah, so I can still use Barbarossa's ability to recruit troops, but I'm not gonna because I want to draw some cards. And our strength is okay. We can hold 3 cards now because our maximum is 3. I think we'll drop the Legion card. I think we're unlikely to play that. We're actually fairly unlikely to play Immigration too, but we'll see. Okay, yellow didn't play an event. It's actually, when you're at the bottom of the pile, you're much less likely to want to play events because there's so many things that can punish you. They're on their 3rd lab, which they can do because of their government, so their science rate is actually in pretty good shape here. Industrial Age has started. Okay. So yeah, what happens when you advance through the ages? You lose 2 of your yellows, which makes it means you need more happy faces, which means your food production also takes a hit. You also discard any cards or leaders or unfinished wonders that are more than 2 ages old. So anyone who had an age A leader, unfinished wonder, or yellow card would be discarding those. Military cards as well. So it's only red that discarded 1. And then my Colossus triggers, so I draw some extra military cards. So yeah, extra unhappy faces going on. Although blue's taking theology, which is better temple, very incentivized to do that. It'll give them more happy faces, and the religious happy faces also, because of Joan of Arc here, gives you extra military strength. I really like that leader, by the way. Joan of Arc, I think she's great. but mostly it's the security of the events going on. Now, it would have been worth. Genghis Khan would have been interesting. We couldn't take it because we already had one leader of that age. But Genghis Khan lets you treat infantry as cavalry for the purpose of tactics, which would have been pretty helpful for us. Cartography gives you extra military strength and colonization strength. Yeah, a lot of the AI are eating some corruption here in this game. Okay. So we're second strongest at this point. We'd win the tie against blue, so we're pretty comfortable triggering some of these events. We aren't in a position to attack anyone. Oh, this is the Napoleonic army here, but we don't have cavalry. We're unlikely to play that. Politics strength is right. The strongest one grows that. I mean, we've got time to respond. We actually might be in a great position to boost our strength substantially here. We could consider doing that, although we've got to deal with some of those happiness issues, which could be done through potentially opera. No, I think it's probably going to happen by building it through temple, and then we develop alchemy and then upgrade alchemy. All right, there's a chance we might be strongest when this comes up. But we're just going to try to maintain our strengths with that. Okay, inhabited territory. This is a very powerful colony because it gives you 2 yellow cubes back. It also boosts your population by 1 immediately. I'm very keen on taking this, especially since we can regrow ourselves quite quickly with Barbie. I think what I'll do is I'll be willing to bid up to 6 for this. I could go more YOLO, but I'm worried about putting ourselves too badly off militaristically. Okay, red's going to win with a bid of 7, which fair. If they want to spend that much, although they didn't spend that much. I think we need alchemy with a breakthrough. We're going to raise our pop here, and we are going to develop religion just to get rid of one of our unhappy faces. Oh, no, we're still in a bad place. Oh, right, because it was put... Oh, it generates an extra unhappy. Well, shoot.